Today, I'm going over the introduction in chapter 13 called The Guiltless World. If you did not feel guilty, you could not attack. For condemnation is the root of attack. It is the judgment of one mind by another as unworthy of love and deserving of punishment. But herein lies the split. For the mind that judges perceives itself as separate from the mind being judged, believing that by punishing another it will escape punishment. All this is but the delusional attempt of the mind to deny itself and escape the penalty of denial. It is not an attempt to relinquish denial, but to hold on to it. For it is guilt that has obscured the Father to you, and it is guilt that has driven you insane. This first paragraph is describing the ego, what it does, how it thinks it's escaping punishment, escaping attack by judging and attacking and punishing others, and that it's insane. It's all backwards. It makes no sense. As soon as we judge others, we're automatically judging ourselves. And then we feel guilty. And then the ego game keeps going round and round and round. We think that we are relieving ourselves of that guilt by projecting it onto others. But it's not true. It just keeps us buried further into that guilt. The acceptance of guilt into the mind of God's Son was the beginning of the separation, as the acceptance of the atonement is the end. As soon as we had that tiny mad idea when we thought, I wonder what it would be like to be separate from God, that is when our mind appeared to split. And as soon as we thought we did that and that we separated ourselves from God in heaven, we immediately felt deep, deep guilt. When we appeared to split our mind, both the ego and guilt were made. But it's just a dream. It's not real. And how do we undo it? With the atonement. The at-one-ment, the perceiving correctly of who and what we and everyone else really are. That is how we awaken our mind to the truth. The world you see is the delusional system of those made mad by guilt, right? We're insane. The whole world's insane. All of us who think that we are a separate human, separate from everything and everyone else, are insane. It's not at all true. It's all backwards. And this insanity is coming from our deep, deep unconscious guilt. Look carefully at this world, and you will realize that this is so. For this world is the symbol of punishment, and the laws that seem to govern it are the laws of death, right? Because everything in the ego world dies. In reality, we never die. But in our pretend dream of separation, fear, sin, and guilt, there is death. The world is a symbol of punishment because the whole point of the world is to block out God's love, is to keep us separate, is to keep our minds split, is to keep us believing in separation. And we think we deserve that punishment, that banishment from heaven, because we feel so guilty. Children are born into it through pain and in pain, right? If any of you have given birth out there, I have, it hurts a lot. Not just for the mother, but for the baby as well. So as soon as that human is born, as soon as that ego appears to be born into a body, right away, it's filled with pain. Their growth is attended by suffering, and they learn of sorrow and separation and death, right? Isn't that what we all experience as children? We suffer as children, and we learn of sorrow and separation, as well as death. Children are learning all of these things as soon as they appear to live within a body. Their minds seem to be trapped in their brain, and its powers to decline if their bodies are hurt. They seem to love, yet they desert and are deserted. Why? Why are we all deserting and are also deserted? Because we're not paying attention to who and what we really are. We are deserting our truth. We are one. We are all connected. We are all love. And by not perceiving that, we are deserting ourselves. They appear to lose what they love, perhaps the most insane belief of all. And their bodies wither and gasp and are laid in the ground and are no more. Not one of them but has thought that God is cruel. So as children grow up and turn into what we call adults, their mind seems to be trapped in their brain. The powers of the brain decline, and bodies are hurt and also get sickly and decline. During life, we appear to lose all sorts of things that we love. And why is that the most insane belief of all? Because we never lose the things that we love. And no one and nothing ever dies. If this were the real world, God would be cruel, right? That's why God knows nothing of this world. God would be insane and cruel if God knew of this world and was in charge of this world. That would be a scary God. But God did not create this world. We made this world with our guilty mind. For no father could subject his children to this as the price of salvation and be loving. A loving God would never create what appears to happen in this world. Love does not kill to save. He puts that in all italics because he wants to make it very clear. Because in this world, we think that love kills in order to defend or save something. And he's telling us, no, love never does that. That's not love. That's what the ego has convinced us of special love. But that's not real love. Real love is spirit love, unconditional and eternal. If it did, attack would be salvation. And this is the ego's interpretation, not God's. So if love did kill, then attack would be salvation. But that's all wrong. That's all backwards and upside down. Those are ego beliefs and not of God. Only the world of guilt could demand this, for only the guilty could conceive of it. Adam's sin could have touched no one had he not believed it was the Father who drove him out of paradise. For in that belief, the knowledge of the Father was lost, since only those who did not understand him could believe it. So he's talking about Adam of the Bible, using that story as an example. He's putting sin in quotes because there's no such thing as sin. Adam, or the ego, made that up. And we as egos believe, just as he's explaining here that Adam did, that we were exiled out of heaven, out of paradise by God, by our Father, by our Creator. And only someone who doesn't understand who and what God really is would ever believe that. This world is a picture of the crucifixion of God's Son. He puts is in italics because he wants to emphasize that the entire purpose of this world is to exile us from heaven, to punish us, to banish us into a world of sin, guilt, fear, pain, and death. And that is what the crucifixion represents from the ego's perspective. And until you realize that God's Son cannot be crucified, this is the world you will see. That is why we believe the world is real and that we're really here and that this is our reality. Because we have false beliefs and we're still believing the ego's insane nonsense. Yet you will not realize this until you accept the eternal fact that God's Son is not guilty. That's why it's an important part of practicing forgiveness to remind ourselves that everyone and everything is the innocent child of God. We are all the innocent child of God. He deserves only love because he has given only love. Whatever we think we've done here in the world isn't true. It's just an illusion. Our truth is our eternal spirit self, who only knows how to extend love, who only knows how to give and receive love. He cannot be condemned because he has never condemned. We can't be punished if we're not punishing others. If we recognize and perceive that we are the innocent child of God and that we are all one, we could never condemn anyone because no one would be separate and no one would be guilty. The atonement is the final lesson he need learn. For it teaches him that, never having sinned, he has no need of salvation. So salvation is the same as freedom, being free from the prison of this illusory world. Why do we not need salvation? Because we're not really here. It's not really happening. That's why we don't really need salvation. All we really need is to correct our perception so that we stop perceiving with the ego and learn to perceive with our true self, which is spirit. That is our salvation, and we only need that salvation as long as we believe that we are an ego separate in this world.